Hello and welcome to another model building workshop. I am Mr. Allen. I am in my basement workshop here in Providence, Rhode Island, and today we are looking at the BMP-1. This is the old DML kit from the late 80s, and yeah. So what I did with it, I did mine as an Iraqi version. And I built this quite a while ago. So what I did is I kind of custom created some decals here by cutting up some decals I had lying around in my spares box. And I had based this on an Iraqi BMP-1. And I got a photo when I went to a model show. I met a veteran who was selling some photos of some of the captured Iraqi equipment that he had seen while he was stationed there just after the first Persian Gulf War in '91. And there were lots that were just full of captured Iraqi equipment just kind of sitting there, and he had the ability to kind of wander into one of those lots and just photograph scores of vehicles, and this was one of them. I only had a photo that pretty much showed it pretty much in profile. So the back of the vehicle, I put an Iraqi flag. There may have been other markings back there, and I'm not sure what was on the front, although I think the front might have been a three-point view that I was looking at actually in the photo. And I got a few other photos from this gentleman while he was selling these items at this model show back early to mid 90s. So that's about the time I would have built this. So there you go. So let's look at the instruction sheet here. I no longer have the original instruction sheet or the box, because as I just said, I built this in the 90s. So I know I'm making myself old. So let's have a look. Yeah, I am old. What can I say? Has the typical paint call out sheet here, which does have the names of the paint colors as well as the numbers for the Gunzi Sangyo, Mr. Hobby Color, Mr. Color Paints. Over time, I started to get familiar with these numbers just from memory. I started to learn that 8 is silver. And the more you work with these things, the more you kind of pick up some of these over time. But it is nice that they give you the colors here in several different languages, in fact. So that's helpful. Instructions are not necessarily anything really different. It's fairly straightforward, putting the wheels and so forth on here. There are some parts you have to remove because I think a lot of some of these pieces are probably also used on the BMP-2 kit. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing, is you have these rear doors. Actually, all of the doors on the kit you can leave operable. They can open and close. So if somebody wants to do a lot of scratch building or get some aftermarket pieces, you could do a nice interior to this if you so desired, because it gives you the ability to do so with these open hatches. And I believe this is the first kit that I built that had link-by-link tracks. I believe this is the first one, so I had to learn that whole system with this kit. So it's kind of funny that when you have a kit as old as this one, it's been sitting in my collection for a very long time, that I still remember building it. I still remember like I built it a few days ago. So it's kind of fun. Now, there are a lot of small parts with these kits, and it's not uncommon for a Dragon kit, but then it's not uncommon for a Talaray to do that either. So that you have to be aware of. Lots of little lights, headlights, clamps, handles, etc. So that is a little challenging for people with not the best eyesight. Now, I'm glad I built this all those years ago, because now it gets a little tougher on my side as I get older. And then we get on to some of the final construction steps here with the rear hull hatches, which are where the infantry would be. And you get the turret, which doesn't have a whole lot to it, really. The way these are designed, with all that equipment there, the gun doesn't really have a chance to elevate once you put all that stuff on there. It does come with a crew figure, which I opted not to use. And that's essentially the construction options for the kit. What is really nice about this model kit, kind of ironic because I decided to do an Iraqi one, which is not part of the decal set, because this kit came out before the Gulf War happened. So what it gave you for options is a USSR version with the, I think, the red guards, star and flag logo there. You got one from Syria, from one of the Middle East wars there. A nice busy camouflage scheme. There's a version for Finland with a tricolor scheme, which I believe is like a kind of a lightish green color, black and gray, I think is what that is from memory. And a whole bunch of other Warsaw Pact variants, all in dark green, but with obviously very different turret insignia for each of those countries. And some of those are quite dramatic, like DDR, has this thing going on. You get the Czech one with the red, white, and blue split up circle there. Poland. And then you get your parts breakdown sheet, which is kind of handy, especially if you're buying one used. You want to make sure you actually have everything in the box. That helps. So the kit overall, I remember building this, and it was challenging for the small parts, and I had to get used to the length of tracks. I think I made some errors over in here trying to get these on. Now, I hadn't built it before, so I've learned tricks of how to do this since. So I'm kind of building it, fitting it as I go, I believe, is what I was doing in these early ones. These doors do open here, but it doesn't really, there's nothing you can really see inside because I don't have an interior. But there's a lot you could do with that kit because all those, like I said, they all open. So a lot of possibilities, especially all those marking choices. There's a lot you could do with this. Do a quick look at the history here, because they do give you a pretty good write-up here. It's not the easiest to read because it's kind of small here, especially, since I no longer actually have the instructions, I had to print them out from ScaleMates. And thank you for providing these things, folks. It's a crew of 3, which is a driver, a section commander, which is in the rear, and the gunner in the turret. Now, the gun is, let's see. It is a 73 millimeter smoothbore gun. Also has a coaxial 7.62 machine gun in there. And the gun is fed by an automatic loading system, and it can fire heat frag rounds. Sorry, fragmentation rounds. And it has a total of 40 73 millimeter rounds that can be stored in the vehicle. It also has the AT-3 Sager anti-tank guarded by wire missile, and there's one that's on top of the gun, and I think it stores, let me see what it says. Yeah, there's 4 inside that they store. Although I'd imagine it'd be rather challenging to be running out there and trying to load another one on there in the midst of combat. I'm sure that was lots of fun. And of course, there is the BMP-2, which is a different configuration, which we'll look at in a second. So NATO was a bit shocked when this came out. This made its first public appearance at a parade, I believe, in 1967. That's what it's implying here, anyway. It was the first true infantry fighting vehicle to come out. Before that, there was pretty much half tracks and things of that nature. So this is the first specifically designated infantry tracked fighting vehicle. And so you could carry it was 8. Yeah, a squad of 8 could be in there. So it's kind of a new thing. And then eventually the United States came up with the Bradley and began creating, its own. And the British had, I think, had the Warrior. All of those vehicles that kind of followed in the footsteps of this one here. Let's take a look at this very heavy but very good DK book that they do with the Smithsonian. And a lot of this, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, is vehicles from the Tank Museum in Bovington, England. Let me find where this is. Sorry, I know the number of the page. Just got to get to it. Come on. It's a little awkward to carry, that's all. Because it's big and heavy. So there's the BMP-1 right here. And at the lower corner, the opposite page, is the BMP-2, which has a different kind of gun altogether. But very similar design, just modified. There's a few other vehicles here as well, other infantry fighting vehicles. So it said it was like 14.9 tons, it's a diesel engine. But it also said it was kind of cramped in that it was very cramped, and was vulnerable to mines, and the fuel tanks were located between the infantry seats. That's comforting, huh? But as a kit, it's a pretty interesting vehicle. And as I said, I have built some of these with some kids. Not the Dragon one, I tried the other one. And like I said, the SE one had some issues with the tracks that were kind of challenging, but overall we've been able to make some interesting models out of that one. But this is the Dragon one, and overall, pretty cool kit. I'm sure that they've made better versions, and other manufacturers have made better kits out there of this vehicle since. But hey, this is the one from way back. It's still a nice kit. And like I said, if you're adventurous and get some skills, there's a lot you could do with it. All right, so that's my BMP-1. So keep on modeling, and we'll see you soon on the next model building workshop.